right, very good. Good afternoon. Jeff Drozdowski, DrozdTalks.com. Here today, interviewing another very special person to talk about leadership, to talk about all these wonderful things that he's accomplished in his life. And I am here in Rochester Hills, Michigan. He was kind enough to have me come into his home and do this interview. So this gentleman sitting next to me here is Colonel Tom Doman of the United States Marines. And Tom, welcome to the interview.
I tell you what, thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate you having me on. Love Droz Talks and love what you're doing.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So during, and just to kind of set this up for you here, Tom and I do, have a relationship going back to high school, but we haven't, we've kind of reconnected here over the last couple of years for business interests, really. And I thought he'd be a great person to bring on and talk about leadership because of all the incredible stories that he has told me here as we prepped for our interview. So we'll get to some of those, but Tom has a very unique perspective. And this is another reason why I wanted to interview him is, as we were talking about earlier, only 1% of the population are people that actually have some kind of active duty in the military. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Less than 1% of basically, 330 million people serve voluntarily in the military. And
Yeah.
so, having said that, our freedoms are protected by less than 1% of those. And we, unlike a lot of nations, it's an all-volunteer force. So, everyone is always amazed how we can constantly get quality, outstanding men and women into our service by basically raising their hand and taking the oath of office to serve and protect this country against enemies, foreign and domestic. So, as military men and women, we take great pride in that oath, and we live it out every day as we serve our country and our fellow countrymen. Because really, America is about us Americans.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah.
So Tom, just to give people a little background, you went to high school, and
Right.
At that point you decided that you wanted to get into the military, and you applied to the Naval Academy, correct?
Right. So there was a little twofold. Okay, was there patriotism involved in that? Of course. But I also wanted to play Division I football. It gave me an opportunity. I was recruited for football, and but you know what? When I went there, I fell in love with Annapolis. I fell in love with everyone wearing a uniform. Everybody, basically, singleness of purpose. Coach Jim McDougall, my high school football coach, used to say that. And sometimes when you join an organization, whether it be a company or military, and you look at something bigger than yourself, and that's one of the things I talk about in my Domanisms. But when you join something bigger than yourself, you take the spotlight off of you and put it on the organization. It's not about me, it's about we. And so when you start focusing on others, I really think good things happen.
Excellent. So Tom's claim to fame, he did go to the Naval Academy. He did play football, Division I. He was a spotlight player for the 1983 game,
right.
was it?
Yep.
At the Rose Bowl,
That's
Army-Navy, right?
That's right. Army-Navy, we played in the Rose Bowl. First time the Army-Navy game played west of the Mississippi. And during the war years, World War II, it played in Chicago, Soldier Field. But other than that, it's normally at Philadelphia, Baltimore. It goes back and forth. But that year in '83, we played the day after Thanksgiving in the Rose Bowl. So a lot of times I tell people I played in the Rose Bowl, and coming from Big Ten country, they sit there if I played for Michigan or Michigan State, and I said, no, I played for Navy. And so it was actually the stadium was called the Rose Bowl, and we had a fun time. It was a great time. They flew out all the cadets, they flew out all the midshipmen, and we ended up winning that game 42-13. And it was a great experience. The people of Pasadena took us into our homes, right, and really housed all 9,000 midshipmen. And
that's amazing. And you know what? People don't realize that. I didn't realize that. That's new information for me.
Right.
Do they do that in Baltimore and in Philadelphia as
No.
well? So that was just unique to the Rose Bowl.
It was unique because we were going across country.
Okay.
And instead of paying for all of the hotel bills, we wanted the Rose Bowl committee thought that it was great to open up the homes. And you know what? Something that in the Marines that we learned is Americans love their military, and they love the men and women that serve in their military. And this was just one example of my 29-year career that the Americans have opened up their homes and their hearts to support us in anything that we do. And that's one thing that I cherish is that type of relationship with the American people.
Excellent. So again, Tom, full-blown colonel, and it's quite a journey to get to being a full-blown colonel, and you know, he's done some amazing things. You see behind me all of the patches that Tom has accumulated, and this is just part of it, folks. Over to my right here, he's got really a collection of trophies and many other patches and medals that he got on his way to being a colonel. And you know, we don't have enough time to find out how you got all of those, but maybe just briefly tell us how you've gotten those patches that are behind us here.
So the patches that are behind us are patches of squadrons and ships that I served with, Jeff, and you'll see the flag back there. So this is all part of the 2 years that I was on the USS Guadalcanal. It's an aircraft carrier for helicopters, and it was during Desert Storm back in 91. I got on the ship in 90, left in 92. And so all these are pilots that came on board our ship and literally, gave their patch to me, and I gave our ship's patch to them. But the flag back there is from the USS Iowa's captain's gig, which it was decommissioning when we were commissioning to go to the war because we had our boilers replaced. I did some work on the Iowa to help, take some stuff from their ship to our ship so that we can go to the war, and end up getting the flag. And I take great pride in that because the Iowa has a storied history, storied past, and to get that, I just felt real special to have it.
Yeah. So if you're wondering about the history of the Iowa, there was a situation that happened on the Iowa back in the early 90s. Where there was an explosion. But you can take a look at that, find it on Wikipedia or go on Google to find out more about that. But that adds a little bit extra for Tom too. So a lot of pride, a lot of pride in God and country and jobs and the things that Tom has shared with the people that he has looked over and the people that he has served for as well. That's another big impression that I have gotten. So one more thing I want to touch on before we start talking about your lead and your Domanisms. Tom's got a great keynote on leadership. Again, that's really why we're here today. But I want people to know that, Tom did serve forward, I believe is the correct term, right? In Desert Storm and Desert Shield. Right. Correct?
And then also in Iraqi Freedom back in 2004, 2005. And the difference there, Jeff, is in Desert Shield Storm, I was active duty. And so I was on board the ship. Our ship got called up to serve and replace other ships. We did Operation Provide Comfort, which was the operation that took the Turkish refugees out of the mountains, freezing to death. We built makeshift homes around Incirlik, Turkey, and got them to safety, gave them food. But the second one is when I was a reservist. My son was just born, and I got a phone call the day after New Year's saying, "You're being mobilized." And so for all those that work with reservists, it's a phone call that changes their life. And back then, on the 2nd of January, 2004, it changed my life because I was being mobilized for a year, which ended up being a year and a half. The second half of the year I extended because I was in a leadership position in Iraq and I didn't want to leave my troops. And so I stayed on for another 6 months to ensure that the mission was done. And at the end of the day, I left my two girls, Taylor and Ashley, and Tommy, who was just born, and he was 2 years old at the time. And I came back when he was 3.5. So if I can impart anything on folks is that, reservists, they're doing two jobs at the same time, but they take the oath just as active duty, and they can be called up at any time.
Yeah, so that is a sacrifice, I think, that people don't take into consideration when they think about the sacrifices that military people make. So Tom's working at his job, at General Motors,
That's right.
and then he gets a call from his general, and he wants Tom to get up and go to. Can I say it?
Sure.
Estonia?
Sure.
Okay, I don't know how secretive that was.
No, I mean, that's...
He's telling me stuff. I don't know if this is top secret, right? So, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So, but it's like, he's playing catch with his son. He's teaching him how to hit on a Friday, and on Sunday he's on a plane to Eastern Europe, one of the former, provinces of the Soviet Union. And that kind of sacrifice, I wanted to make sure that didn't go unnoticed by those of you who are watching this out here today. So Tom served in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, all these other things, all these other operations.
Sure.
Tom, can you tell me one story in particular as we start transitioning over to leadership? Maybe
Sure.
something that happened while you were at Desert Storm, Desert Shield, an act of heroism on the battlefield, or something that happened in particular that just illuminates the pride that Marines have.
Well, I'm going to fast forward to Operation Iraqi Freedom, if you're
sure, absolutely,
because it's still fresh in my mind. It was the first Saturday in October 2004. And it was a beautiful day, and as I tell people the story, it was a beautiful football day. It was crisp, not a cloud in the sky. It was one of those days that when I played football at the Naval Academy, you wanted to play in. And
now, is this in Iraq?
It's in Iraq. It's
okay.
at Al Assad Air Base in Iraq. It was home for 10,000 sailors, soldiers, Marines, Coast Guard. Everybody was there, airmen, and we had two gates. We had a gate for the Americans, and we had a gate for where we brought in all of these services, and it was more nationals, Iraqis, and folks from Sudan and not Sudan.
Syria,
thank you. Syria,
Yeah.
Jordan, because we got fuel from there. We got all types of support from those two countries at the time, and so we had training the Iraqi police and military on Gate 2, and it was shift change. And so we were changing over, and we had a ton of Iraqis leaving the base, a lot of Iraqis coming into the base, and there was a taxi that was filled with explosives. And I don't know, how he did it, but he got a big crowd around the car, and he exploded it. As we used to call it, vehicle IED, improvised explosive device. Right. So he blew it up, and it was a crater the size of a house. Okay, and right next to it was the guard tower. In the guard tower was two young Marines, 19, 20 years old. And they had a 50 cal machine gun and a Mark 19 grenade launcher. And if you can imagine the serpentine to get into the base, so it's not a clear shot, the explosion goes off, they get knocked off their feet, their ears are ringing, Jeff, okay? They're discombobulated, but the Marines, okay, we stand our post, okay, until we're properly relieved. And here comes an ambulance from the nearby town of Heat, okay? Well, back then, and I think it is today, cell phones were illegal, okay? Because those were igniters to IEDs on roadside bombs.
Yep.
These Marines had the wherewithal, had the presence of mind to get up, get back onto their two weapon systems, see that ambulance, and know that it wasn't right. And so the rules of engagement back then was ground, radiator, driver. And so they shot at the ground with the 50 cal, shot at the ground with the 50 cal, and the driver stopped, and then he backed up through the serpentine, and we sent out a team of Cobras to try and find that ambulance, and we swear to this day that was the second vehicle IED destined for the American gate. And I would tell you that We just had turnover, okay, in September. So here we are, beginning of October, and these Marines were on guard for the first month, okay, and to have the presence of mind, to have the duty to stand there when your ears are ringing, you don't know where you're at, and if you've never been in an explosion, you're so discombobulated. And these Marines stood up and they got back into their duty so quickly to save basically hundreds of Americans because that ambulance backed up. And I will tell you that story. I was in my office a mile away. It blew me off my chair. Okay, and
so a mile away, and it's as strong, or maybe probably stronger than an earthquake, right?
Oh, it's the explosion was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's something that most of us can't relate to, I'm sure. Yeah.
But again, those two Marines saved hundreds of lives, and then we obviously took to helping the Iraqis and helping the wounded, and of course the people that died on the first explosion. But again, it's one of those moments in time where you are just amazed, that when you take an oath of office, when you sign up to serve this country, and the duty that lies within our servicemen and women, it's amazing.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, I was down in San Antonio, Texas, about a week ago, and there must be a naval station, or there must be some kind of military connection to San Antonio, because at the airport there were 2 or 3 busloads of midshipmen.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. But I was reminded, and Tom mentioned this earlier, that they were 18, 19 years old, and I was reminded as those young men and women were getting on the bus that they are really just kids, especially the older you get, 50s, and then you look back and say, wow, 18, 19, 20-year-old people on the front line, protecting us. It really is amazing.
Absolutely. And, at the end of the day, it's the patriotism for an all-volunteer force that gives you great pride that people are out there standing watch, standing post, standing to protect our freedoms all around the world. And it should give everyone watching this great pride that you're an American.
Excellent.
So
thank you.
Sure.
So fast forward a little bit. Tom spent many years in active duty, like he said, and now Tom is a retired colonel from the United States Marines, and he has taken so much of what he has learned during his time in the military and put it into a keynote and some key items and some catchphrases and some amazing things that he has put together.
Thank you.
To go out and I know that you have spoken to schools and to groups,
right?
And I know that you'll be expanding on that in the future, and you probably got a book in your future.
Absolutely,
and whatnot too.
Absolutely. Trying to put all these Domanisms into the pages, and so that I can pay it forward, so I can pass on what I've learned, and hopefully, I always call it the power of one, Jeff. And the fact is that if you can affect one person, right, and through the history of our country, one person has made a difference in so many people's lives, whatever it may be, whether it's business, whether it's military, whether it's in churches. But all you need is to excite one person and inspire one person, and then it goes forward. If
we all inspire one person, and any of us who talk about leadership or talk about, or are motivational speakers, all you have to do is really change one person, and if we all do that, then it just snowballs, and it just makes the world a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, all right, so just to stop for a second, let me ask you this. Do you want to start with the top 10 things that you don't need any talent for, and then go to leave your ego at the door and then go to the Domanisms? Do you want to do the Domanisms first? Which one do you want to do?
Let's go through some Domanisms, and then I can work in the top 10.
Okay.
Throughout.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So, Tom, as we just mentioned, has developed this keynote on leadership. And Tom comes from a large family, 10 kids, right?
10 kids.
And you're 8 out of 10.
I'm number 9.
9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. All boys and one girl, right?
Yep, 9 and 1.
Yes.
We always say it's a baseball team and a cheerleader.
And Sister Mary was a cheerleader.
That's right. She was a cheerleader, and now she works as a nurse for the last 30 some odd years at Beaumont, which is here in Royal Oak, Michigan. And you know what? It's funny how leadership is, Jeff. When my mom was going through a series of hospital stays, the nurses that Mary led said, "Oh, this is Mary's mom," and treated us like gold. And I wanted to mention that because I would tell you there's leadership in so many ways, and the fact that when you go into a hospital, which they see patients all day long, right? And when you get treated like your family, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, no question. And that goes to customer service or just the way that you treat people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So out of his being raised with 8 brothers and 1 sister and leading that into his career in the military, Tom has come up with his keynote, which is called Domanisms. And there are several offshoots of that. LEAD, which I'll let Tom explain, and then some talents that we all, well, really it's not even talents, just things that we can do that doesn't take any talent. So Tom wanted to start off with Domanisms. So as much of a nutshell as you can, Tom, tell us what Domanisms is all about.
So as I went through my, raising in a family of 10, it's a team, right? Your family is the team. It's the core unit of America, and you should be proud of that team. And one of the things, Jeff, that the Domanisms is Steve and Dolores Doman. These are the things, and all my brothers help me as I go through life, and it helped me through Shrine High School. It helped me through the Naval Academy. Helped me through the Marines, and it's that support system, that basic unit that helped me when let's just face it, you're going to go through some ups and downs, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone said at the ups, everyone's up, okay? It's everyone gets that pat in the back, but you know what? Sometimes it's that reach to bring you up that you hit some stumbles, and as I sit here with you, I've had my stumbles, right?
Sure.
And as they always say, you learn more about yourself during those stumbles, because at the end of the day, that's what you find out what you're made of. When when your back's against the wall and when you're knocked down, what's that famous saying? It's not the fact that you get knocked down, it's the fact that you stay down. No, get up, okay? Get up. And one of the things I love to say is enjoy the struggle, Jeff, right? Enjoy the struggle. If everything was easy, everybody would be wearing a colonel uniform,
absolutely,
right? Okay?
You're right.
It's not easy, okay? Embrace the uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, that's when you start to find out who you are. And the beauty about that is that it gives you inner confidence and inner courage to continue on of what you want to do, what your goals and dreams are. And with Droz Talks and everything that Jeff talks about in all of his LinkedIn
Video blogs.
Okay, video blogs. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not in tune. Okay, still trying to figure it out. But anyway, in all of his video blogs, it's basically self-awareness, self creation, self growth in you to be the best you, right? And then when you're the best you can affect people where you work, at your home, in your community. I mean, that's what Jaws is trying to do here. He's bringing me as an example, but at the end of the day, I applaud you for what you're doing, because you know what? At the end of the day, he's one guy and he's affecting how many people that are watching this. So, hats off to you.
Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got the background with the family and helping people.
Sure.
Can you give us 2 or 3 of your favorite Domanisms?
Sure.
And because there's 10 folks, right?
Right.
So we'll let Tom preview these Domanisms. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so the first two that I learned right off the get-go, and these should be nothing new, but things that when you sit there and you go every day, you think about. One is do what's right, okay? And my father always used to say, listen, if you don't know what's right, come talk to me, I'll tell you what's right, okay? And my dad is a great man, and at the end of the day, not only did he tell me what's right, he showed me what's right? At the end of the day, everybody is watching everything you do. Do what's right, okay? Do what's right for your family, do what's right at work, do what's right for your community. And like you said just a moment ago, it makes us all better as people and as Americans. The next one is leave it better than when you found it. Everyone has probably heard that, but when you think about those two, I could stop and I could call them Domanism's top two, right? Do what's right and leave it better when you found it. Whatever it may be, when I went to war, what can I do to make it better than when I found it? Whether it's a Desert Shield Storm when I was helping out the Turkish refugees, or when I was fast forward at Operation Iraqi Freedom. And when we went over there, Jeff, we went over there, how about this? Friday the 13th, August 13th, we're flying over, and we went over almost every emotional holiday. So think about it. From August to February, you're going through Thanksgiving. You're going through Christmas. You're going through New Year's. You're going through Super Bowl. You're going through
Valentine's Day. One. Sure.
Exactly. So my point is how do you motivate your troops through
Don't forget Halloween too.
Oh, that's right. Halloween's big in this country. Let's not kid ourselves. But my point is that all those are family holidays. And everyone is carrying a loaded weapon because we're at war, and so how do you motivate people through those emotionals, right?
Yeah.
So emotional days. So again, you start bonding with your fellow men and women that you're serving with, and whether it be like take this for the Super Bowl back then, right? I took a machine and I projected it onto the wall. I had people send in rice, salsa, chips, dips, and that kind of stuff. And at 4 in the morning, we're watching the Super Bowl, right?
Nice.
And so my point is that it gave everybody a moment in time that we could actually sit and watch the Super Bowl to give us something that
reminded you of home.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Reminded you of home. Now, was that the Super Bowl that? I can't believe I can't remember the lady who sung it.
You know what? No. That I know what you're talking about.
This isn't going to end up on the floor. We look like a couple of 50-year-olds.
No, you're talking about Whitney Houston.
Yes.
When she sang the song,
yes.
I was in the Atlantic, and matter of fact, I gave a speech to that at Michigan Elite Basketball, and talking about the power of that 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Amazing, wasn't it? And again, if you're too young to remember Whitney Houston singing at the Super Bowl, it was right after, Desert Storm really had started. It was right around that time.
Exactly.
And it's by far the best rendition of the national anthem that you'll ever hear.
Exactly.
Really, really special.
Please Google it, because I would tell you, she changed, and even in her words, she changed the melody to be one. I'm not a musician, but she changed it just a little bit, and she sung it just a little bit. And I would tell you, I'm getting chills talking about it.
Yeah.
That those 2 minutes and 15 seconds that she sang that really kind of unified the country, because we were just right around. I think it was just after. Or in the middle of Desert Shield Storm, and it was one of those moments in my life that really impacted me, because I was floating. I believe I was going to Desert Shield Storm on a ship. If my history serves, but we actually watched it on back then. The TVs weren't that good, right? But we watched it, and it was before the Super Bowl. It was great. It was a great moment.
All right, so you've touched on two, I think, right? Okay, so what about the third one?
So if I can just combine, here I have 6 and 7, right? And so what I say is be part of something bigger than yourself. And then right on the backs of that is build your bank of relationships, right? So at the end of the day, like I said just a moment ago, that you want to be part of a we instead of a part of a me, right? Mm-hmm. Take the spotlight off of you and put it on the team. And when the team achieves, you achieve, okay? And then when I talk about build the bank of relationships, it's invest in people, Jeff. Invest in people, because at the end of the day, people is what makes this life go round.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. Leave it better than when you came in.
Exactly.
Number two.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. So when you invest in people, I will tell you that throughout my career, that people have helped me out in my career, unbeknownst to me, because of my relationship with them, because I did outstanding work for them, because I impacted their life. And so they, in turn, did something for me. And I will tell you, here's the caveat. When you build your bank of relationships, that's a comma. You can't withdraw unless you deposit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yes. So, and that goes to a little bit off from what Tom said, but that really goes to relationships too. If you want to have strong relationships, whether it be with a spouse or friends, you have to make deposits into that part of the emotional
Absolutely.
Relationships. And in turn, at some point or another, then you can make that withdrawal as well.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it works in that realm as well.
In every relationship.
And that's not selfish. That's just the reality of it all, right? You can't be anywhere and just want to take because that bank gets empty. Pretty quick.
Absolutely, it does. And then then at that point, you're looking around and you realize that you took all the spotlight. Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't be that way, right? Because we need others to be successful in this world, in this country.
Yep, absolutely. Very good. So Tom's top three, and at the end of this, just so you know, we'll put Tom's email address down below. We'll put it right around there, and so you'll be able to contact him, for an event that perhaps you want him to come speak to. So So let's go to the leaving ego at the door, LEAD, lead, and it's really a leadership philosophy that that I really like. So again, go ahead.
When you look at LEAD, leave ego at door, at the end of the day, you could go through history. And a lot of times people have failure because it was all about ego. They made decisions because it was their idea. And they didn't want to take Jeff's idea, for example, because Jeff had a better idea. So one of my key things that whenever I join teams and be part of a team, I sit there and I say, leave your ego at the door, because when we come in, it's about the team. And when we have issues, it's not a Jeff issue, it's not a Tom, it's our issue. And we need to fix it. And we need to sit there and go through the problem solving process to actually find the solution. And when you find that solution, guess what? Everybody has ownership. And when everybody has ownership, guess what? Normally, you institutionalize that fix or that solution, and it just becomes part of your culture. And a lot of times people don't, it can't be people based in the sense of it was my idea, and when I leave, the idea goes dead, right? It's got to be our idea because it lives on. Whether it's in your company, whether it's in the military, whether it's in your family, when you make a decision, make it your decision in the sense of your family, your business, your team, so that the decision can lead to better and bigger things.
Yeah. So a great example, we'll say in the sports world these days, is the New England Patriots, right? There's a New England Patriots way of doing things, and it's had three solid pieces in that with the coach, the quarterback, and the owner. Right. But, every year that roster gets turned over.
Oh, absolutely.
But they still have an amazing amount of success, and have for the last 18, 19 years, as long as Tom Brady has been with the Patriots. But there's a way of success, and it's the responsibility of the people that are there already to pass that on to the new folks. And that's a big thing, whether it be in sports or anywhere else.
Well, take a business, Jeff, and you've done a great job. But everyone always talks about improving the culture, right? Improving the culture of your company. And at General Motors, in the division that I'm part of, the customer care and after sales, we have leaders that are changing the culture, and now has been taken on by the corporate of General Motors. And now we have sayings like be bold, be respectful of your ideas and my ideas, but when we're in a meeting, be bold to say and not get criticized, right? We have another one that's one team, right? We're all in this together to take care of the final customer. Okay, we call her Mrs. Johnson, right? We want to make sure Mrs. Johnson gets her part when she pulls into the dealership, right. And then she goes out a satisfied customer. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are just some examples of how, when you talk about culture, it's so important. And you know, we could talk about companies that have poor culture they're no longer.
Right. So. Right. Absolutely. So speaking of culture, if you want to see, especially in today's day and age, as the world is adjusting and really being led slowly but surely by the millennials and then the group after that, Generation Z, go to Zappos. And Zappos is an online shoe company, and their culture is off the charts, or cool. And just by watching the 3-minute video that the founder owner shows about their culture, kind of makes you want to work for them, because it's a really cool place. It really is. So Zappos.com, Zappos, Zappos. So.
No, I've read about that, and you're right. The culture is. It's very inviting, but also it's very motivating and inspire people to do the right thing for the customer, and they go above and beyond every day to make sure that their customers are taken care of.
Mm-hmm. And they're selling shoes, right? and they're online, so they're not even really touching, handling the shoes. It's done at the distribution center, but it's the culture that they.
Let me give you a little tip. Yeah. Everybody needs shoes.
That's right. That's right. Everybody needs shoes.
That's right. That's right.
Very good. Very good. So a little bit about leaving ego at the door. Let's just touch on things, and I find this amazing, because it doesn't matter how much talent that you have in whatever gift that you've been given or whatever talent that you were born with. But there are some things that you can do to make yourself a better employee, make yourself a better person, make yourself a better family person that doesn't require any talent at all. And Tom has put together a nice top 10 list of those.
Yeah, so we sometimes we've seen these before when you talk about being on time and giving effort, being coachable, right? Being doing the extra things. One word that I love is passion, Jeff, right? Mm-hmm. And you got a lot of it. Let me tell you got a lot of passion. and at the end of the day, people mistake passion maybe for anger no, get excited about what you do. Get excited about what you do, because at the end of the day, you are taking your time and exchanging that for whatever you do. So passion is good. Sometimes we got to redirect passion, right, to make sure it's going to a common goal. Mm-hmm. But another word that I take, and it doesn't matter what I do, it's energy, right? Mm-hmm. How many times do you come to work and you hey, how you doing, Joe? Same old, can't stand it, okay? Can't stand that, because at the end of the day, every day's a new day. Every day we're going to accomplish something more, and energy is what gives you that oomph to get out of bed, to drive to work, and to be part of something bigger than yourself, and to do something to make an impact. I would tell you, a lot of times, energy, when you have lack of energy, you don't really want to deal with those people, right? Mm-hmm. Because they bring you down. Yeah, I don't
energy takers rather than energy givers.
Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. So I love the word passion. I love the word energy. Okay, but another one that how about this? Your body language. Okay, how many times do you see people and you go, I don't think they want to be talked to, because their body language says they're shutting down, they're disgruntled or whatever. And you know those people at work. You know who they are. At the end of the day, as I tell my son Tommy, you have a decision every day how you're going to be, your attitude. And when you sit there and say, I'm going to have a positive attitude, guess what? It's infectious. And positive attitudes just permeate from you, and they exude your excitement about being there, and guess what? It changes people. It does. It changes people, and then they want to be around you. When you say, I want to form a team, hands go up. Mm-hmm. They want to be part of your team.
Mm-hmm. So just the same as we talked about when I was out in New York a few weeks ago talking to entertainment executive Len Burnett. You mentioned positive mental attitude. Here's another person that mentions positive mental attitude.
That's right.
Here's another person that's going to mention positive mental attitude. Are you getting the idea?
That's right. That's right.
You getting the idea? People respond so much better to somebody who has a positive mental attitude. You attract people to you with a positive mental attitude. And again, that doesn't take a lot of talent, does it?
No,
that's in your top 10 of things that doesn't take any talent, right?
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Jeff, you got to make that conscious decision, okay? You really do. I mean, every day you got to make that conscious decision that how am I going to come into work? Am I going to come in and sit behind my computer and give that vibe, the don't talk to me vibe? Or am I going to get out of my chair, instead of sending IMs, sending 17 emails, get out, and you know what, I learned this from General Zinni, right? Back when we did Somalia, right? General Zinni, there was phone con, there was email con, right? But he did hand con. And he shook the hands of those people over in Somalia and said, listen, I'm General Zinni, I got the Marines, and you stay on your side, I'm going to stay on my side, but should our two sides collide, understand I got a duty to do, and I will do it to the utmost of my ability. And guess what? That hand con really came across when you shake someone's hand and you give them that look in their eyes, saying, "Listen, this is who I am." You know what? Not a whole lot of issues happen underneath the Marines' command. So I always remember that because. General Zinni was a great general. I mean, he still is a great general. He's retired for the Marines, and you just learn so much from your leaders, and you put it in your tool bag. So,
excellent. All right. So, lastly, and then we're gonna have some final words, and we'll wrap this up. But the 3 C's of leadership that Tom has here. So, please tell us about the 3 C's.
So, in every leader, you always want to be seen as competent, right? At the end of the day, whether you charge that as intelligence, whether it be street smarts, book smarts, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to follow somebody who knows what's going on, right? And has vision and really knows where to take the company. But you want to be seen as competent. So what does that mean, Jeff? You got to do some work, right? I mean, there's some work involved. These things are not handed to you. You got to earn these stripes, as we say in the Marines. You got to earn these the competence by doing your homework, making sure, putting in maybe some extra hours to ensure that your direction is the right direction. And then the second one is courage, right? And so oftentimes, you got to have courage of your convictions. And when you have courage and convictions, guess what? It attracts people, right? Because they sit there and, hey, this guy knows what he's doing, and he has courage of what he's saying. Okay, and sometimes it's not the popular decision, Jeff. And so you got to have that courage to make the bold decisions. Okay, and we can go through. I'm sure you could go through all the leaders of companies, upstart companies that are now icons today, that have made the tough decisions, the bold decisions, the courage to continue on, maybe when they had $2 to their name and they kept pressing, and now they're multi-billion-dollar corporations.
Yeah.
And then the last one is compassion, okay? Just like the word passion, compassion is for your fellow man and woman, right? Is that you're not just a number, you're a person, you're a family, you're part of something of humanity. Whereas, you know what? I'm compassionate about everything. Jeff, you and I work together. I care about you, your family, your wife, your kids. How's it going? And at the end of the day, when you have that bond of compassion, I always tell people, family's number one, and everything else is number two, right? Because when you have issues with the family, they're not going to be usually a productive worker, right? Because they're thinking.
Very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Things that outside of work can affect people's work very much.
Yeah. So you know what? At the end of the day, if someone is sick, if someone is needs time to maybe go to a funeral or go to a play, let them go. Let them go, because I will tell you, they'll come back and work twice as hard because you gave them that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some things when we talk about leadership that we're really lockstep on, and that goes back to in my world and the way that I talk about it is treating your employees well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's those little things. It doesn't have to be big.
No,
it can be little, like letting somebody go to the kids' play, getting out, stepping out of a meeting early. Those things can have huge benefits.
Something, Jeff, that I want to make sure the audience knows is that how you talk to your employees. If it's always accusatory, guess what? They're always in the corner trying to defend themselves, right? If you ask them in an acquisitive way and bring them into the conversation, you'll find that their buy-in and their ownership and they take charge of what they're responsible for. And you know what? They'll sit there and they'll go above and beyond. Again, you instead of pointing the fingers, right? I always like bringing out the hand, right? Let's shake hands and let's get and meet people. And bring them towards you instead of being accusatory and pushing them away. So
very good. All right. So one more thing that I want to make mention of, if you could talk about. First of all, it really is amazing to be in the presence of somebody in their full uniform. It can be intimidating. It's quite powerful. And I have only seen Tom really in his military presence. One time it came out and we were having coffee at a coffee shop a few months ago, and he got really excited about something, but his Marine came out, and it was something to behold. So he's very mild-mannered compared to at least what he could be when necessary.
At the end of the day, we always talk about putting your Marine Corps hat on, and Marines. Not only do we have to be diplomats because we go into countries, and when Marines go forward, we take pride in representing the country as well as the Marine Corps. And when we talk to whether it be other generals or colonels or heads of state, you're representing America. And so we ensure that that we take pride in the way we look and the way we speak and the way that we convey that I am America. I'm just a small piece of America, but at the end of the day, I represent America, and I could be the only piece of America that person ever meets. And
that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a real good point. So, as you can see here on Tom's left chest, he's a well-decorated colonel. But as we were doing show prep, he told me about one medal in particular that he received, and I believe that, and I don't want to say it wrong. So you tell me it's the one that you share that is a medal that General Patton had as well.
Yes. So the Legion of Merit, which is
Legion of Merit. Yes.
Legion of Merit, which is this one right here. I received that from now Major General Patrick Hermisman. He was my commanding general, my last commanding general before I left the service. He actually came to my home. He gave up, Jeff, if you can believe this, a trip to Hawaii to retire me at my home. And which
Hawaii,
Colonel Doman, Colonel Doman, Hawaii. I choose Colonel Doman. So, just in a quick nutshell, it's unusual to retire at your home. For all the Marines out there, normally you do it at your final unit. But at the end of the day, my mom was not medically fit to travel to New Orleans. And so we had it in my backyard. He flew in, and I would tell you that he made an impact on my family and everyone that was present at the retirement because of his message. And then when he bestowed the Legion of Merit on me for the work I've done for him as his Inspector General for the 4th Marine Logistics Group, couldn't be more proud to accept this medal because of what it represents. It's a senior leadership of senior colonels and generals performance, and quite frankly, to receive one of these, it was unbeknownst to me, Jeff, and someone had to write up. It's almost like a term paper. It gets voted on by a council of 3-star generals. And
Council of 3-star Generals.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
Right, and they vote and to see if that you meet the requirements. And Jeff, this is the only medal in our armed forces that gets given to heads of state. So very, very proud to receive this. Another one that I received on my promotion was the Military Outstanding Volunteer Award. And the reason I bring those two together is because at the end of the day, and one part of my Domanism's keynote speech is, you've got time. You've got time. If I can get the volunteer medal, which I do in my community, whether it be Toys for Tots, whether it be coaching, whether it be in my church, whatever it is, in the community, I represent the Marine Corps. And then on the flip side, get a leadership recognition with the Legion of Merit. At the same time, I couldn't have been more ecstatic to be recognized. And both of those medals were done by people unbeknownst to me. And I guess, when I go back, Jeff, I've told you this many times, in the Marine Corps, it's earned, never given. And so the fact that people thought well enough of me, of my performance, whether it be in the community or at my last billet position in the Marines, they thought well enough of me to put the time and effort to submit those two awards. I couldn't be more proud.
Tom, if you could just mention, you said your Legion of Merit was bestowed upon heads of state as well. Could you just let the folks know, who you share that medal with, who has received that medal as well? So
the Queen of England, the King of France, Charles de Gaulle, General Charles de Gaulle, General Patton, General Bradley. I mean, there's so many historic figures that of huge prominence that have received this medal. Again, that gives me great pride to wear it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I wanted to make sure that he mentioned the people that he shares receiving that medal with, because that's rarefied air, right? That's small company.
Wow.
So
I thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Good. Very good. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. Just like when I did my interview with Lenny Burnett, we could go on all day. But, I want to be...
Can I leave you one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I leave you one more thing?
Please.
Back a long time ago, Major Hill left me with 3 words that I want to leave with you, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay. And at the crux of it, as I told you, my Domanisms, do what's right, leave it better than when you found it. But I leave you with this: bloom where planted.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Because I wanted to, we could have bypassed that, and I would have kicked myself if, leaving here today saying, oh my God, we missed bloom where planted. So continue, please.
Yes. So again, it doesn't matter what you do, what job you do. Major Hill taught me that at the end of the day, you have a starting point, and then you're going to be in that job for 2 years, 3 years, and the final point, find something that you can latch on to make it better and to bloom where planted, whatever it may be. As I tell people, if you're sweeping floors, sweep the best floors. If you're running a company, run the best company. Whatever it is,
Agreed.
Bloom where planted, because at the end of the day, you're putting your time and effort into something. Do it the best you can.
Excellent. So if you are interested in having Tom come speak to your group about leadership, his email address is?
Well, I have several email addresses, but the main one is tdoman42@gmail.com. So it's TDOMAN, the number 42@gmail.com.
We'll run that, probably,
Sure.
like I said, probably
Right.
about waist high too.
Okay,
So just
good.
so you know.
Sure.
Do you have a website or no?
I do, but it's not. I have the domain names, but it's not.
Just haven't put it together.
Yeah, I haven't put it together yet.
Well, then there's no reason to mention that.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so tdoman42@gmail.com.
That's right.
And of course, Jeff@DrozTalks.com. DrozTalks.com is the email address. Shoot me an email. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Give me a call. It's all on my website. Thank you so much, Colonel Doman.
Thank
Proud
you so
to
much,
know
Jeff.
you.
That's right.
And really appreciate your service. And I want to make sure that I mention that as well. So enjoy the parts of the interview that we'll be putting out on the websites. And I'm sure that this will be more than than just one whole interview. We'll probably break it down into different sections.
Okay.
And have a 2 or a 3-part series out of it. So thank you, and get a hold of me if you want me to come speak to your group as well. So we may even want to do it together.
We could actually do a tag team. This is great.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Bye for now.
Thank you.